to invite up our mobile panel as we delve into the world of mobile. Oftentimes I'm asked, as all of us are, what's hot? And I always think mobile is hot, because much like Peter Guber was mentioning, we walk around, if we don't have our headset, if we don't have our cell phone, we're really lost for the day. So having access to applications that are cool and unusual, and mobile, is where we want to be at all times. And we're very fortunate today to have a number of companies from Israel and companies that are doing business in Israel that are in the world of mobile. And with that in mind, do all of you have your mobile devices with you, ready and active? You'll find this is unusual. Please take them out. And please send an email or a tweet to anybody that you know, love, and care about, and tell them that you're here at the Israel conference, having a really great time and learning a lot and meeting people and doing business. And keep your cell phone out, because I think these gentlemen are going to tell us a little bit about how to use our cell phones even more effectively. And with that, I'd like to introduce Michael Bale from ESPN, who's graced us today to tell us about where's ESPN going. We have Infogen, Iran Weiler, and we also are very fortunate to have Amir Maor from Appreciate. Do we appreciate him? What a great name for a company. And George Nahon to tell us a little bit more about the world of mobile. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Sharona, is on? Can you hear me? There we go. I'm Michael Bale, another connection to Israel. I used to work with the Moby for Zohar Lefkowitz, who I think is speaking momentarily about space. And I had a privilege for my first time traveling often to Israel, and enjoyed the people, the companies, the technology very, very much. Also, since some of you are shy in the audience, feel free to tweet questions to my Twitter handle on the screen, Roppongi T. Roppongi is a nightlife district of Tokyo. I came late to Twitter, so I added T afterwards. Very original. One question opening, how many of you are from Los Angeles? That's good. I've asked this question often, and I realize if I don't qualify it, the following question might be misconstrued. And that is, how many of you woke up this morning to your mobile device before your loved one? Hence the qualifying. So when we think of mobile at ESPN, we think of mobile first. And people have kind of challenged that question because we're a television company, a very successful one. The business models are understood. They're not as disruptive. Yet, if we look around the world in particular, in fact, sports is the original social media, back to the Greek days. It's what both allows people to rally, as well as what causes people to be opposed to one another in terms of taunting around their particular fans and sports teams. It was said earlier by the gentleman about fans are fanatical. In sports, that's without question the category. With ESPN specifically, we have 60 million people who access us through our digital properties every single month. 20 million of them come to us via mobile. Of that, 1/3 are exclusively using us. So 7 million people are exclusively using ESPN content on mobile at the expense of our .com environment. If we look at what we specialize in and why we're excited for the category, it was also described earlier by both Peters, is the concept and the opportunity of commerce. You know, what's really not yet understood is the ability to transact. Mobile is very important to create the intention, as also described earlier, but it's the opportunity to reduce friction for commerce. And in particularly, when you focus on the male category, it's a tough audience to reach. In the States, often in a relationship where you have a spouse, you're handicapped to be able to purchase freely. And the fact that male are 85% at ESPN, we have access points to allow where someone might be watching a game, imbibing a little bit. With one click, they can purchase both virtual content and real goods content. Another thing that excites us is the transition and the expectation of fans to see content simultaneous to the experience they're watching live. It was described earlier about the horrors at the moment in terms of stadium experiences, which are improving, of course. But live television is something that we're pioneering with our partners, with cable companies, with operators around the world, to allow our fans to access any content we program traditionally on linear networks to be also visible on iPads, tablets, smartphones equally. What's interesting is to see how connected fans are. Our prime time on mobile is at the same time as content is aired live. The one thing that's exciting for marketers collectively is to circumvent the challenge they face when pre-programmed content can be skipped. Look what's happened recently with Dish Television launching an ability to skip all ads when replaying DVR-based recordings. Live television is very difficult to skip. And we're seeing the desire to accompany content, to learn more about a player, to learn more about a marketer's message while watching simultaneously live events. And we see this particularly interesting on weekends. In fall, we have over 10 million unique users who come to ESPN. Sports fans in the room will find that interesting because we don't carry any games on NFL on Sundays. It's Fox, it's NBC, it's CBS. But the brand of ESPN is synonymous with sports, so it's our responsibility to program content that's compelling, that's interesting, that's fantasy, that allows them to enjoy the game around the game. In terms of what our presence is, it's quite large, 70% market share in totality, often larger than our cable peers' networks. And lastly, this is a slide recently produced by Mary Meeker, Kleiner Perkins, launched on Tuesday, I think, of this week. And why we're so bullish and why we've assembled a great panel today is the opportunity to appreciate that while 20% said earlier in terms of time spent on the web is via mobile, in terms of total media consumption, 10% is on the mobile. So 10% of all time we spend on all media is via mobile. Yet at the moment, only 1% of media is allocated. Very good cushion to improve. So my first guest, who I'd like to also allow himself to introduce his company and what he's up to, is Aaron Weiler from Infogen.
Okay, so I established the company 12 years ago, in the days that people didn't actually surf the internet from their mobile device. Okay. So we are the pioneers in the market, and we have several patents on taking internet content and on the fly automatically adapt it to each and every mobile device. When I started the company and I was talking about the fact that users would like to surf the internet from their mobile, people were doing this. Eran, you don't understand, obviously that was not a phone, but people are doing this. People will not do this, okay? And you've been too much time in the sun of Israel, and this is why you think that from those small screen devices, people will surf. We're happy to be in a world where we were right, and we're also happy to be here today to share with you that we are working with many carriers across the globe, enabling them to deliver any kind of content to any mobile device, not only to iPhone or BlackBerry or Android, but also for those devices to do some great things that will enable the carriers to stay smart pipe. So we have a number of technologies. The one that we launched 2 months ago called GeneWiz, and that enables any website owner to use everything we built over the 12 years and easily and fast publish its own mobile site in only 2 minutes. Because as I said, most of the work is done automatically, but still we are giving to the website owner the ability to customize and to do whatever he likes to do on a mobile device, which will look different from the web. And the whole process is really simple. We have other technologies. One of them we called content overlay that I will explain, that enables the carrier to stay smart pipe, ad insertions, and also a framework that enables content providers that wants users. If you all saw what is happening recently, like Facebook are talking about the fact that they want to have a browser. Everyone understands that you would like to interact with your users not only when they are going to your site, but also when they are browsing other sites. So we have the framework that enables that technology. And by being a company that focuses on how to deliver the web richness to each and every mobile device, we specialize on development tools, the issue of device fragmentation. And by the way, it's not going anywhere. It's only becoming worse and more complex, because 3 years ago, people thought that with the iPhone and Android, my life is going to be much easier when I want to take my content to the mobile. But now we have 3 versions of iPhone, we have 10 versions of Android, and we have 6 versions of BlackBerry. And I'm not talking about Windows phones and maybe a Facebook phone. So how can we take our existing content and any kind of content that we will design in the future and enable that content to deliver to each and every mobile device in the best way possible, although we will write it once. So we have a complete suite of solutions, and we work with any device. Working in this field for 12 years, we support 14,000 different devices, even WAP1 device. So what can we do for smartphones? We can enable a better presentation, and obviously we see that most of the publishers today that do have the funding to do it build a dedicated version for a smartphone. Our solution enables to do it automatically without any human involvement, and still it looks very human because that's the essence of our technology. We analyze the page. We try to understand the various elements in the page. What is the logo? What is the navigation bar? What is the main issue? What relates to the main issue? And then we do the exact work of an editor. We reformat the page, although automatically, but more like a human approach. We obviously can make the font bigger. We can add other services to go to the homepage of the site owner and other services. So we can inject toolbars and navigation layer on top of the content. And here how we did it also to the smartphones. We call it content overlay because it's on top of the content. And what we actually do without any installation, and this is more targeting for the carriers. The carriers can be a smart pipe. While the users are surfing, we can enable the users to be exposed to the carrier services without any kind of installation. You just take the phone from the box and you start to surf, and it's there because we are sitting in the network. And we can put on top of the content a layer of the carrier that enables the users to interact with additional services on top of the content they are in. Obviously, we can do what we call context browsing, which means there will be some services that relate to what you are doing, but without any installation, and enable the users to interact with the carrier or the content provider that presents such a services. So as I said, we launched 2 months ago a new service. We call it GeneWiz. And that's a service that enables anyone, just go to genewiz.com and enter your website. And with 3 steps, you take your existing content and you build and you publish a mobile presence of your site. You can customize it. All our tools are web-based now, so you can do a lot of very tricky and very nice things that are more tailored for mobile. And in a matter of 2 to 5 minutes, you can have a mobile version that can reach 14,000 different devices. So that's basically it.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have Amir Maor from Appreciate. And please spend a few minutes with us introducing yourself and your company.
Sure. So I think we have a video that will do some of the work for me.
What's up, folks? I'm Jay Markabibi, and welcome to Tap That App, the show where we feature the juiciest pieces of app on planet Earth. Now, if you know me, then you know I'm an Android enthusiast. But the thing about Android is that there are like a billion apps with like a skillion more getting added every day. And not all of them are cool. This means that finding the right app, the one that's perfectly tailored to your needs, could take you 1,000 years, literally. Well, today I'm going to help you cut through all the clutter with an app that actually helps find the right apps just for you. It's called the Appreciate Personal App Market, and it's essentially an app recommendation engine. To get started, just download Appreciate and log in with your Facebook account. You can also log in without Facebook, But going that route, as you can imagine, gives Appreciate less data to play with. The home screen is where you get your daily recommendations. They're based on your profile info, the apps currently installed on your device, even your Facebook friends, if they're using Appreciate too. You can also see daily new games, new apps, local favorites, and a bunch of other categories. It's really a lot of information. When you look at a recommendation, Appreciate will tell you whether it's a strong match or simply a good match, and it'll even tell you why. Or sometimes it'll give you an app and say, take a chance, which essentially means it's not a match at all. One feature I really love, though, is Appreciate's shopping cart. Whenever you come across an app that you're interested in, just add it to your cart. Then when you're finished browsing, you can go back to your cart and install it from there. What's interesting, though, is that the cart actually says install all. Hitting install all doesn't install all of the apps at once. You still have to go in and install each of them individually. So if you don't want to sift through literally 50 trillion Android apps, then try the Appreciate Personal App Market. It really works. Trust me. Also, it's free and it's available now through Google Play. That's it for this week. If you've got a fine piece of app that you want to show me, holler at me on the Twitter. Thanks for watching.
So I think he has a much better accent than I do, and he's probably doing a much better job than I could. So my name is Amir, as you said, and I'm the co-founder of Appreciate. My co-founder is spiritually here with me. So a little bit of context. This is a cool application, but there's a lot more behind it. I'll be very quick because I have like 3 minutes and this clock is ticking. You probably heard about Draw Something and Angry Birds and all these great applications, but the sad reality is that for most applications, they never get discovered. If you look at the number of applications that actually have been downloaded more than 100,000 times, let's say, it's negligible. And this is happening because, on one hand, consumer cannot really deal with 500,000 applications that are now more or less on the Android, Google Play, I should say, and iTunes. So the way that it's set up today, when you go and try to download an application, what will happen is you're going to get a bunch of lists saying, this is the top game, this is the top tool, whatever. And this is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy where the ones that are on top are going to get downloaded more and they're going to stay up there. And the other method is search. But we believe what we felt was that search is more relevant for a piece of information you're looking for. And applications is more, as we look at it, a form of entertainment, something like music or books, where other solutions were developed by Pandora or Amazon. So we wanted to create a tool that will not only use these traditional methods, but will also help people find through personal recommendations and through social discovery. And what we found out after we developed this product and released it is that if you look at the 100% of applications downloaded through our service, only 1/3 is downloaded through the traditional methods of top downloaded list and search. Actually, 2/3 are using our new methods that we've added to the pool, which is personal recommendations and social. I'm going through this very quickly, so excuse me. The other side of the story is the developers and advertisers. It's really hard to get into the top lists, these top download lists, and it's actually that tip of the iceberg that I talked about. It's getting more and more, it's getting harder and harder actually to get into the top of the list. Some of the researchers are putting numbers that if you want to get to the top of the list, over the past 12 years, the number of downloads you had to generate increased by 40%. And the cost per download to get into the top of that list has also increased by 40%. And imagine what it is like for a company that is targeting a niche market, and by niche I can mean even 10 million users. It's practically impossible. So there's a lot more into it, but I'll just say that what we did is, and for developers, it's really hard if you want to target. Their frame of reference is TV or Google ads, where you can buy an AdWord and say, I want to buy people who are looking for travel. And this is really easy. You look for people, type travel, and you get a targeted ad. But for mobile, this is much, much harder. So at this point, we released a website that is free. Anyone can just go in and log in. And you can actually see, if you're a developer, you can go in and see your app, what is the profile, what type of user are using it, what age group, what gender, things like that, and it will help you get better conversion. And if you're an advertiser, for example, let's say you're saying, okay, I want to target users in Australia, female, 25 to 30 years old, we'll actually show you what apps are actually the ones that are most relevant for this group. Not only, by the way, looking at download numbers, which is very, very misleading, especially if you're not advertising, but more in terms of usage. So really going through this really fast, but it's an exciting space, and this is appreciated in a nutshell.
Great, thank you, Amir. Echoing the comments of the Peters this morning, where they were profound enough to suggest it's a two-horse race, I interpreted that as Windows versus BlackBerry. Was I wrong? Is it a two-horse race? Is it a four-horse race? Are there platforms important outside of Android, iOS? Where do you spend your time on this?
So do you mean in terms of platform competition or?
Platform competition, do you believe it's a two-horse race? That was the statement this morning. Or do you think BlackBerry and Windows are not yet to be counted out?
Oh, all right. It's very hard to predict. Of course, it largely depends on how much carriers are prepared to buy these devices, because most of the devices that people use are still subsidized by carriers. So, I mean, it's in the best interest of carriers to work with multiple platforms, obviously, given what happened to them, with the iPhone and Android. So, Windows is clearly a very interesting new platform. I mean, the new version that they came up with. And it's all about the ecosystem, really, about developers and services, etc. So they seem to be in a very good position. I'm not sure about RIM currently. Remains to be seen how they can go through their current crisis, and we'll see then.
Aaron?
I think that thinking that there will be one platform or two platforms, not only by looking on what happened in the last 12 years, but also looking to the future. We now hear about Facebook. They're talking about having their own platform. So I think that we will stay with a fragmented environment where there will be a number of players. I agree about Microsoft, about Windows. I think that they are going to be a good player in this game, and they are going to be much stronger than they are today. Not only because of the relationship with Nokia, but they have a very good platform right now. And I agree about RIM. It's still a puzzle, but there will be new players, and it's going to stay the same, I think even more complicated.
Amir?
Yes, I think that at least the way we look at it is obviously iOS and Android are the two that you got to be in. And then the third one, Windows. I'm not really sure about the lower end devices.
Are you adapting your technology to Windows?
I think Windows is something that we're taking Windows very seriously. I wouldn't count them off just yet.
It reminds me, when I was out of college, I worked in publishing for IDG. We had PC World, Mac World, and we were about to launch to presses a first magazine to describe the brand new websites that would come up that given week. And we were at the printer, and we called it Netscape World. And the very last minute, my boss switched it to The Web Magazine, so kudos to him to predict you could never count out Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that when we started out and we were talking about Android, and everyone was saying we're crazy because who's gonna, there's iOS, so why you think about Android? So whenever you have, I think, a serious company with a lot of experience in software and relationship with developers, you should take them seriously.
Absolutely. George, question for you. When we hear that Peters this morning describe real-world problems where 50,000 people aggregated in a stadium can't even make a phone call, how do you allocate resources within Orange Labs to both address futuristic opportunities, but also when you hear from business persons like Peters, problems that exist today?
Well, they are good problems to solve, really, for us, because it means more traffic and everything. So there has been a number of interesting new tools which allow us to offload some of the pure mobile traffic to Wi-Fi and other secondary wireless environments. There is a lot more to come in this area, mostly based on algorithmic management of the spectrum, so like software-defined radio kind of thing. So we have great hopes there, and we expect companies, startups, etc., to come up with innovative ideas. The way we fix it today is kind of best effort, frankly. In very large conferences, for example, you would have noticed that even the Wi-Fi that is provided by the local carrier, it might be the hotel itself, is generally not very good because it's a classical network traffic management problem that is very hard to fix. I mean, the peaks are really what create the problem, and networks are not usually designed to manage the peaks. So think about New Eve and things like that. The SMS, etc. But it's very clear that with software entering the radio technology, there will be a lot more sophistication in how we can handle the traffic.
Are we out of time? What's this? Closing comments. So, question on my mind always, most startups before they end and from where they start go through a pivot. I think, Aaron, you went through a pivot from consumer consumption to help transcode the web experience to now allow merchants' websites to make their stuff publishable. Amir, you're nearer to the gate. Do you anticipate a pivot? Are you prepared to pivot? Do you even think of it?
I think that a startup is by definition a series of pivoting. Everything we do, it doesn't have to be, pivot is a big word. But actually in reality, every day or every feature that comes out in today's, I think you talked about the pace that we have to work. Every month, everything we come out into the market is, for us, is a test. So there's nothing we go out with that we're not ready to kill. Maybe the word is a little brutal, but that's how we look at it. We're very excited about the features that we come out with. We're sure they're going to change the market, and everyone's going to love them. And then time after time, we find out that some of them are really great, but many of them were just nobody was interested in them. And we're not sentimental about it. What works, we love it and we keep it. And what doesn't work, we just kill it. And nobody gets insulted on our team because their feature didn't work. It's a learning process, and that's how we look at it.
Okay. Well, with that, please everyone join me in thanking our esteemed panelists today.